I said this many times before. You guys know I'm a martial artist. I credit martial arts for saving my life. After I got done playing basketball and football, I didn't really have a direction. And I was lucky enough when I was in college. My suite mate, I lived in dorms, and me and my suite mate, we dated these twins, and we became really good friends. It was actually pretty sweet. Guys, my college years, I still look very fondly upon them. That was very fun. Me and my suite mate, we was dating these twins, and he just so happened to be a wrestler, and he was part of this MMA club, and I watched MMA and Pride for a very long time. My dad won the regional Golden Gloves 3 times in a row. I trained boxing with him. My cousin literally boxed prime time on Showtime, like I think 4 or 5 times. He was not like a famous boxer, but he was like almost there. I had like 2 cousins who won Golden Gloves as well. I come from a martial art family, a boxing family, because boxing is the martial art. So I was always interested into it. So my sweet mate introduced me to jiu-jitsu and to Muay Thai. And because I was that motherfucker who always had hands, bro. You guys, they want to tell everyone to learn martial arts. You guys had no idea what I do to confidence to a child. Nigga, my dad, fuck him, but this is one of the few good things he did. He used to take us to the gym, right? We had this big community center where everyone played basketball. He would give us boxing lessons on the basketball court. So everyone playing basketball, and they just see me and my brother. So you want to know who would never fucked with in high school? Because everyone in high school saw me and my brother. So I'm like, man, I'm a badass man. We used to fight all the time. We used to go body. We used to spar all the time. You whoop these motherfuckers out. They want to know, don't fight with me and Nick, me and my brother, me and my cousin. Don't fuck with us. So then I learned. I was like, all right, let's train martial arts. I rode with this guy. I trained at this place called Warrior Jiu-Jitsu, the first place I ever would train at. They taught Japanese jiu-jitsu. And I rode with this guy who was like maybe 150 pounds. At this time, I'm a little chubbier than I used to be. Back then, I was like really shredded, very muscular. I was in really good shape. I sparred this motherfucker who had no muscle, 160 pounds. This motherfucker tapped me like 5 times in like 5 minutes. I was like, bro, what the fuck is this? People have no idea the gap between an average person and someone who like a jiu-jitsu brown belt. So I become obsessed with martial arts. I sparred with this guy, Paul. He's a Vietnamese person, multiple Muay Thai champion named Paul. We call him Paul because I had no idea how to say his fucking name. Remember, I'm a badass. I was a guy who whooped everyone ass in school. I sparred with this guy, and he's a Muay Thai champion. I got hands, bro. We got hands out here. This nigga kicks me in my legs. He fucking kicking me and shit. Never seen anything like that before in my life. Not used to losing. This motherfucker in the sparring match. It's a sparring match, to be fair. Kicking my ass. So I'm like, what is this? So I become obsessed, my friends. So I become obsessed with Muay Thai because I learned boxing my whole life. So I was sparring with him. This nigga kicked my leg. I don't know what the fuck going on. So I become obsessed with Muay Thai. I've been training Muay Thai for about 12 years. I started training 20. I'm very proficient. You guys will see one day. And that's why I first started watching Rogan, because the Joe Rogan experience, I still maintain to this day, the early days of the Joe Rogan experience before he got popular was a banger of a show. He used to have these martial artists come on. I still remember the podcast he had with Uriah Faber, who I was a huge fan of at the time. He was a former WC champion. I'm sorry if I'm boring you with the story, JB, but I feel like I want to add some context to the story. I was a big fan, and there, I think it was Joe Rogan 40, where he had Charlie Murphy on, rest in peace. One of the funniest podcasts I ever heard in my life. He had Charlie Murphy on, like, damn, this podcast is lit, because back then, Joe Rogan used to be a stoner show. It used to be a stoner show where they talk about comedy, they would talk about martial arts, they would talk about shit that no one in the corporate media would ever talk about. And I was very fascinated with the show, especially because of the martial arts side of it. I will hear these fighters, because Rogan used to have all these fighters come on, and they used to explain what it means to be a martial artist. It was very fascinating. He used to have historians on. He would have these scientists on. That was like when I first heard about Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I'm less impressed with them nowadays, but just hearing someone talk about astrophysics and science like that at an early age was very important for me to start doing my own research, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, this show's dope. And I explained before, a few years ago, I turned on Rogan because the show quality had dropped significantly. But despite how disappointed I've been for Rogan, I still mostly been hands off. And in fact, there was time I used to defend Joe Rogan from liberals who used to call him right wing. Because remember when Joe Rogan supported Bernie? And Joe Rogan said he used to be, he said it like, man, I'm more socialist. I'm a socialist. He went from being this guy who advocated for healthcare, who advocated for government spending, advocating for all these social programs. He went from that into a rabid anti-communist dog, an unhinged class warrior capitalist scumbag. So here he is joining with the China narrative. And I will never forget this clip where he told people, oh man, you guys complain, shut the fuck up and get back to work. This motherfucker used to complain about the 40-hour work week. He went from complaining about the 40-hour work week to telling people to shut the fuck up and get back to work. Like, it's completely a metamorphosis. He's a completely different person. And it's very weird to see people not acknowledge this. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who are afraid to call this guy out because of his audience. And obviously you guys know who I am. I am not. Joe Rogan has been peddling absolute dog shit for a very long time, and people are pretending he's not. Now, this is one of the examples that what he's doing. You notice that these millionaires, these billionaires, all these capitalist motherfuckers, they are the first people pushing the culture war. I watched old Joe Rogan. He may make a super social justice warrior joke, apparently, like every once in a while. Every once in a while, he may slip in back in the day. But I swear to God, mark my words, as someone who watched every damn show, like Joe Rogan 0 to 200, he used to barely ever touch the culture war. It used to all be about science, history, martial arts. You know what I mean? It was an alternative media source. We're not talking about the stuff what people talking about in the mainstream. He went from that to he's obsessed with trans people. That's all the fuck he talk about. He talk about genderism, talk about how the left's gone too far. That's all he talks about. He went from talking about interesting stuff to culture war shit nonstop. And I'm gonna ask one of you guys ask yourself this question. Why do you guys think that multi-millionaires, 100 millionaires are so interested in the culture war? It's almost like they want to distract workers for something. JB, do you want to chime in? I know I went on the monologue. That was a very long monologue. So we didn't get to the clips after you chime in. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. You asked, why are they so focused on the culture war? There's two reasons. Number one, people like Joe Rogan are paid to be on the culture war. And I want everybody to focus on this. Whenever you see somebody that focuses more and more and more on, oh my God, the trans people, or oh my God, they're doing this and that, and as far as culture war, that's because it makes them more money. So that you click on their videos or you click on their clips, and then you get more views to them so that they can make more money. And then it's really rage. It is really to enrage certain people or to be a confirmation bias for others. That's ultimately what it's about. On top of it, the people at the top, and I'm not talking about Joe Rogan because he's not at the top. I'm talking about the people, the corporate dictators actually want somebody like him to talk about it because it keeps all workers divided. That's what it is. So then it keeps some workers looking at other workers like, oh my God, you are below me. Or it keeps other workers looking at other workers and going, oh my God, why are you being so hateful? Yeah. And so it keeps us divided in that way. So therefore, when you are a worker, you're going to look at your other fellow worker, and your other fellow worker could be a trans person, but yet now you're looking down on them.
Yep.
You don't want to unite with them. You don't want to be in a union with them. You don't want to be in a co-op with them because somehow, some way, they are less than you, when in reality, you need to team up with them and go after the people who are actually stealing the money out your pockets.
And the capitalists, they don't want you to do that. They want you to view your neighbors differently because they have a different culture to you. And I've been saying this from day one. This is why a lot of the culture war watchers, they don't watch RBN. We don't make a lot of these white Americans who engage in the culture war comfortable because I've been telling you guys to your face that pushing the culture war makes you deeply unserious. The only people who do it are the capitalist class who want to distract workers and prevent workers from uniting. So they stoke cultural divisions. Of course, we believe in different shit, guys. Why do you care so much about what pronouns people use? What life decisions they make? It's completely irrelevant. I don't care if Bob calls himself Susie. Don't give a shit. I want to make sure your wages are not being manipulated, that your labor is not being taken advantage of. They don't want you to focus on that, so they want you to care about Bob calling himself Susie. Something I don't give a fuck about, no matter how much you guys want to pressure me into giving a fuck about it.
Yeah.
Caring about what gender someone called himself, what name they called themselves, shows that you are bored and unserious. Leave people alone. Mind your own fucking business. That is my position. I don't care about your moral hangups over gender and all this shit. I literally could not give a shit. I only care about government corruption. I only care about people invading our lives. So these white rich motherfuckers, they stoke the culture war so people don't think about their material conditions. And this has been the Joe Rogan experience for at least 7 years. And people pretend it's not. People pretend that Joe Rogan is some anti-establishment figure. No, he's not. I think we prefaced this enough. I want to get right to it. Because, bro, this is a doozy. This is a doozy.
Look.
Rogan, if someone said on my show, what would you do? What would you do if someone came on my show and said, China is funding the trans stuff in the United States? I'm like, hey, wait, sir, citation needed. Citation needed, sir. No, he says China is responsible for the trans stuff, and Rogan like, yes, this is the anti-China shit that my paymasters want to hear. Yes, sir, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. Let's play that part again. You can't make this shit up, because this is the second that me and my guest, whoever I have on, we are in immediate conflict the second they say something like this. So let's continue. I'm gonna get through the whole clip this time. He wrote a book about the trans stuff, JB.
The trans stuff.
That's what they care about. I'm sorry. I said I was gonna let finish. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. But you guys see what they fucking focused about? Why the fuck do you care? I'm telling you guys this 100%. This is how I feel. I legitimately don't care. Like, why the fuck would you care about the trans shit and what people call themselves unless you are bored? When you are a millionaire, when you have no conflict in your life, when you live a privileged existence, you got to create conflict. You got to create something that keeps you up and keep you willing to fight. So we challenge the police state. We challenge capitalism. We challenge white supremacy. We challenge real power. These rich motherfuckers don't have to worry about anything in their life. They don't have to hear anything. They don't have to worry about anything in their life. So they got to make up shit. Oh my God, the trans people coming out to get us. No, hey, don't worry about class struggle. No class struggle. No class struggle. The trans people. I wrote a book about it. I know. Aren't you so interested? Come on, read my book about trans people. It's not a grift. I'm not trying to make money about your anxieties.
Why is he so focused on other people's genitals?
So fucking stupid. Like, do people understand they are doing this to program workers? At RBN, we want an intellectual working class movement. An intellectual working class movement that won't fall for a China hysteria like this guy pushing, that ultimately leads to mass censorship and the suppression of your freedom of speech. So let's play. I'm sorry, I'll let it go all the way through. I got triggered and I broke my promise. I apologize for that. So let's. Bro, do you motherfuckers know how gay? Actually, I'll let it finish.
Make the world conform, that politics of compliance, to make the world conform to this new ideological vision that they have. And
new
kind of.
Oh my God.
Fam, well, I'm about to say, do you guys have any idea how gay the Spartans was? I'm a big fan of history, bro. These people, not anyone who spread these culture wars or not. Do you guys have any idea how gay Greece was? Do you guys have any idea how gay Rome was? This thing that homosexuality is new is absurd. And they say this shit with a serious face. Bro, I knew people, and this is before the super gay agenda, bro. I knew people, and I'm talking about when I was in 6th to 7th grade, where we would look at Jerome, and we'd be like, bro, Jerome is gay as fuck. Like, Jerome is gay, bro. Like, and I was never, there was no bigotry about it. At least not, well, I wouldn't say that because I'm sure bullying exists. It wasn't me. But it would be like, hey, yo, Jerome is obviously gay, and he's been gay ever since I knew that motherfucker. I knew there'd be like motherfuckers in 2nd grade we would see, and I'm like, man, that guy is flaming. Then he grew up to be gay. Like, I knew there was a lesbian, I'm not gonna say her name. There was a famous lesbian in high school. She was famous for being lesbian. Bro, she was gay ever since I knew her when she was 3rd grade. This idea that people are being manufactured to be gay is one of the things that capitalists say, because capitalists are unserious and they don't actually have a science on how society works. When you realize everything in class war, everything makes sense. But if you're on the capitalist side of class war and you can't talk about it, you talk about stuff that's ridiculous, like the Joe Rogan experience. So, JB, I know you want to chime in. That's why I'm so glad you joined this segment, brother. I'm so glad you joined this stream of all. So I would love to hear from you, our gay brother, JB Font, which is why I tell these people, if you guys think RBN gonna throw our brother JB under the bus for these capitalist scumbags, you're out of your goddamn mind. But go ahead, JB, our gay brothers and sisters who started a mutual aid organization. JB gay ass is doing way more than your a lot of your people who hate gay people. There are a lot of MAGA communists who think that older white people with arthritis had the most revolutionary potential instead of JB's gay ass who started revolutionary mutual aid organizations. I love you, my brother. Go ahead. I'd love to hear from you.
I love you too, man. Look, here's the thing. He's talking about, oh, well, they're indoctrinating our kids. Baby, it's not. Look. What's his name? What's his name again?
Oh yeah, let me pull up. I found it. I sent it to my. Go ahead with your thought. I'll give you the.
Anyway,
I kind of forgot, to be honest. Let me pull up his name.
Look, it is not schools that are turning us gay. Number one, if you think being gay is a choice, oh baby, I got a big diamond encrusted bridge to sell you over a flaming volcano right now. Because I grew up deeply religious. Hi, nice to meet you. I grew up deeply religious. I was also in an evangelical, so I preached door to door. And it wasn't the school that made me gay. It wasn't anybody who was around me. It wasn't being a single parent. It was just nature. That's how it operates. I can't tell you how many animals also exhibit homosexual behavior in nature. Dolphins.
Well, again, to my point, bro, there was kids I knew in school that was clearly gay, and then they turned out to be gay. You know what I mean? So that was one of the reasons why I never bought that argument. Like, I knew some people, some of the names that escaped me because it's been so long, but I just think in my mind, I knew some people like they were clear, they walk with their wrist like this, you know what I mean? They had all the fucking, they clearly not being programmed to be gay. Like, there's clearly nothing that they can stop. Like, they clearly can't stop themselves. Like, and I'm not slandering, I'm not trying to be mean to them, but they were so obviously gay. It was so obvious that was gay. And like, we were like, oh yeah, he's gay. It's cool, whatever. At least the bullying I didn't see. I didn't see the bullying. I'm not gonna say it didn't exist. I'm sure they was bullied, but I didn't see it. But people around us, we was like, yeah, he's gay. The guy's gay. You know, the idea that being programmed ridiculous. But go ahead, JB.
But I want to also thank you very much for this comment. Jeannie Bottle says trans folks have always existed. Absolutely. LGBTQ folks have been around for ages. Some of y'all got some LGBTQ ancestors that gave birth to you. And some of y'all don't even want to acknowledge it. And so the thing is, like this guy, whoever he is, what's his name? Oh, God.
Here it is. I got the info for you guys. Now you guys see why I told you guys anti-communism is an unhinged ideology. Now look at this. Look at what his tag said. Well, look what his name says. This is James Lindsay, #1 gay studies author.
Is he
this
gay?
Guy got a lot of gay sex on his mind, don't he? This guy writes books about gay sex, and he think he's manly, bro. Look at this. He's out write books about the trans stuff. He's pro-America, anti-communist. So you guys, anti-communists are insane. Anti-communists are all about distracting against class struggle. And you notice this guy who does nothing but write books about how guys cuddle. He's upset about how guys cuddle and kiss. He has 475,000 followers, which once again, I think I do pretty well for myself. I'm almost at 120,000 followers. So I cover foreign policy, the class war. You guys get facts on RBN every goddamn day. People follow my Twitter. People follow I post the hotspot bangers. They probably get like 1,000 likes every single time I post them now at this point. Like, I'm doing pretty well on X despite YouTube suppression. Doing pretty well on X. But despite that, this guy who writes about gay people has 4 times more following than I do. Who's the real grifter? Once again, people like Cornball West, they will say we're the grifters. You guys see the real grifters are the people who push the culture war, and then they pretend they're doing it for noble reasons. Oh, we gotta do this because of this. No, they're doing that for money. They know it will get clicks. They know they can get bigots to buy their book about how gay people hug each other.
Yeah.
You guys see why the working class in America is so fucked? Why the state of the American worker is so fucked? In Russia, the country that Dr. Cornball West hates, they have health care. They got paid maternity leave. You know the average rent in China is $500 a year? I mean a month, sorry. $500 a month. And they'd make $49,000 a year on average in China. All these countries got healthcare. You know why? Because they actually focus on actually giving shit to people. Actually doing politics the right way. Meanwhile, in America, everyone talking about how gay people hug each other. And now people wonder why we don't have healthcare. If you wonder why we don't have healthcare, it's because of people like this guy got 4 times more of the following than someone who actually talk about class issues. And people wonder why the American working class is in the position that it's in. Because if you think this is his first, you guys think this is his only hit. Woo, man. Woo, I can do a whole show on this podcast, bro. This podcast was a dumpster fire. I can't possibly have it in me to watch Joe Rogan nowadays, but this person did. This person watched 3 hours of this show. And you want to know who these capitalists blame for Boeing? They had a conversation about Boeing. Do they blame the capitalist class for Boeing, JB? Do they blame the fact that corporations are in never-ending pursuit for infinite profits, which is unsustainable, which means they had to cut corners on safety regulations to squeeze more profits, which they promised their investors? Is that the reason why Boeing is relaxed on their safety regulations? You would be shocked to find out what the theory that this anti-communist and Joe Rogan believes on what's caused Boeing. This is what no theory does to a motherfucker. This is what no theory does to a motherfucker. Go ahead, JB. I know you want to chime in. Dude, there's a lot to say on this. Go ahead, JB.
What does DEI have to do with Boeing cutting corners and making it so that their planes?
You see what they do, JB? You guys see how they insert that culture war to distract the fact that Boeing is restricting safety?
DEI is the reason why Boeing doesn't actually want to manufacture their planes properly so that they actually work right. What does the hell does that have to do with it? Like, are you kidding me right now? Oh, because they're being more sensitive to people who are of marginalized communities. That's the reason why we have problems. That's exactly what he's saying. Look, this is media literacy would serve you so well, because this guy is basically trying to make it look like anybody that's from a marginalized community is the problem. When in reality, no, it's the CEOs and the shareholders of Boeing that's the problem. They're the reason why they're cutting costs, but he doesn't want you to think that. He's trying to say, hey, look at that person that is trying to be a different gender. They're the issue. Or, oh, look at that person that crossed the border. They're the problem. No. Your fellow workers are never the problem. The problem is chuckle fucks like this that are saying this shit and saying, oh, well, they're the DEI and the trans people are the problem. When in reality, look, a trans woman that is working at the counter at Bloomingdale's, at the makeup counter at Bloomingdale's, is not your issue.
Yeah.
In fact, they are your ally in this class war. So take the transphobic mentality out of your head. Look, work side by side with them and take down these capitalist dictator overlords.
Bro.
That's what needs to happen. Because look, people like y'all listening to this? This guy's gonna get y'all killed. You guys thought I was
exaggerating when I said that Rogan was paid $100 million by Spotify to spread counter-revolutionary ideas? This is what no theory does to a motherfucker. He floats all these theories out. I'm gonna play it again so you guys can digest it. But Rogan, it really is a pipeline to counter-revolutionary thinking. Why? And I'm gonna play it again because I want you guys to hear the breadth of his argument. Because he says that Boeing tanks it intentionally to prop up China. This is what no theory does to a motherfucker. Why would the wealthy people at the top of a massive corporation whose wealth depends on the success of that corporation intentionally tank their company in order to help China? That doesn't even begin to make sense at face value. Why would you tank your company for the Chinese Communist Party? That makes no sense. But they say this with a straight face. You want to know how corporations make profit? You want to know what happens when you understand theory? You naturally become a communist because you understand the concept of class antagonisms. How do a corporation make money, ladies and gentlemen? There are three primary ways. They pass the prices to the consumers, raising prices. They exploit the labor of the employees, and they reduce production costs. So let's go to number 3. If you're Boeing, you try to undermine workers' raises as much as you can. You charge the government more for your contracts. So that's the first 2. So you got to reduce production costs in order to achieve this unrealistic goal of never-ending profits. So you reduce production costs. How do you reduce production costs? You cut corners on safety regulations. This is why capitalism is the problem. When you have the profit motive in there, it gives Boeing a reason to cut corners on safety, because that's one of the 3 ways a corporation make profit, by reducing production costs. I explained in my hotspot video, one of the reasons why they was using trash, recycled parts to build Boeing planes is because they didn't want to have production delays, and they didn't want to spend more money on costs, which is directly tied to profit. You guys see how the profit incentive is the problem? And you guys see the ridiculous explanations that they make up when they have to try to explain what is going on. I need to get my screen back. I don't have my screen. There he is. Because I'm gonna play the explanation again. Because I explained to you guys what's really going on. Now that you guys know the theory behind what Boeing is doing, listen to how capitalists talk about the problem. I'm sorry, I had to play it again because this shit was a
business.
So according to this genius, the capitalists are losing money, and they are willing to go through congressional hearings. They're willing to have their reputation ruined. They're willing to go through all this stuff for China for some reason. Remember, we're not even talking about TikTok no more. We're talking about Boeing. According to the right wing, this anti-communist scum, Boeing is fucking up to help China. This is what no theory does to a motherfucker. Do you guys understand? JB, I know you want to chime in. Feel free, my brother.
He was basically saying that China is now basically saying that Boeing is doing horribly, and so they're pointing this out to show that they're from a Chinese company, that their new planes are rolling out are going to be competing with Boeing's plane. Okay. If Boeing is doing a terrible job in manufacturing their planes, and then a Chinese company comes in and is building a better quality plane, then let the markets decide.
What happened to that?
I thought that's the way it goes. I thought that's what you cappies like to focus on. Let the markets decide.
They got cold feet.
Yeah. My thing is, if you are so about the free market, okay, well, maybe this will force Boeing to start paying attention to keep up their safety regulation and stop cutting corners, so that they can actually build better planes that won't risk the lives of Americans anymore. But instead, you fearmonger about China because you don't want competition. I thought competition breeds innovation here. Isn't this what the cappies say?
This is funny. Isn't it funny when you realize how ridiculous their ideology is? That's why I said in my hotspot video, I thought you guys believe in the free market. Is it funny when you guys get cold feet? Now, when anyone with common sense will mention is the fact they never believe in the free market. That's why subsidies exist. But I don't believe in the free market either. That's why I believe you try to know that every single country that the CIA hates, you should hate as well. I showed this video clip not too long ago, but since I'm doing a Joe Rogan takedown, I must show you guys the deeply unserious person we're dealing with Joe Rogan. You guys know her. Her name is Yeonmi Park. She's a propagandist who spreads lies for North Korea, tells white people that North Korea is evil, and they believe it. These are the kind of people that Joe Rogan platforms. He platformed anti-communist scum, like James Lindsay, the last guy, and he platforms this person, Yeonmi Park, who is a famous bullshit artist. Like, no one takes her seriously no more. She was paid by the CIA and made famous by the West. So, of course, Rogan platforms her because Rogan takes direction from the establishment. Spotify, to make sure Joe Rogan has loyalty, gave him $100 million. And after they gave him $100 million, Rogan like, okay, I will happily do your bidding. And he happily does their bidding, which is why he platformed this moron. Oh, wait, I got unmuted. 1 second.
It's like a once a month. And like here, it would take like 1 hour to go the other place. In order to take a month at least to go because there's no electricity. And sometimes people have to push the train.
They have to push the train.
If you guys don't hear what you just said, I'll repeat it if you didn't hear it. They're talking about North Korea. This is a CIA plant that's very famous for spreading lies to get about her own country to get rich. She said when people travel in North Korea, it can take a month, which is easily disprovable. And she said in order to get the trains working, because they don't have electricity, people in North Korea have to push trains by hands. And at no point does Joe Rogan realize that he's talking to a bullshit artist because his job is not to do that. His job is to give a platform to capitalist, imperialist propagandists like this person and James Lindsay or whatever. So let's play the beginning.
Nick, hold on. Choo choo, choo choo.
Just pushing this motherfucker by hand. So according to the narrative in the West, the North Korean populace is starving. So, but despite the fact that they are starving, they are also simultaneously strong enough to push trains. Isn't that interesting how that works? So let me play the whole clip. I played the clip a few times on RBN. It's a classic. It shows you guys how unserious Joe Rogan has become and how he's 100% accepted his role as government psyop propaganda spreader. Because back in the old days of Joe Rogan, you would never see this fucking person on this show. Never in a million years. Meanwhile, look at this person that they took super seriously.
Go to one distance like a once a month. And like here, it would take like 1 hour to go the other place. In order to take a month at least to go because there's no electricity. And sometimes people have to push the train.
They have to push the train.
Yeah.
Look how public the average person will get you okay. No, this is what we did. We didn't comment food, you know, more what kind Hey, bro, what's the music with Boston time, bro? So, you see this comment. I seen the Gray Zone debunker. Like, bro, Yeonmi Park has been debunked by literally everybody. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan, and they bring her on. She's interesting. And if you tell a lie that is this bad, why would you believe anything that she says about North Korea after this? And another question, if North Korea is as bad as you guys want to claim it is, why do you guys have to pay liars like her to tell these stories? Wouldn't how awful North Korea is speak for itself? There's constant stories. You guys love when I read a comment. You guys love when I do the North Korea segments. Like, when you have these people that come out of North Korea and tell these lies, a story that the CIA pay them to, why would you believe them the second they get caught telling a lie? And why would they have to do that if North Korea is as bad as you guys think? Wouldn't they just put a camera and show you guys North Korea? No, they got hired the North Korean traders, the Uncle Toms of the Koreans, and they become famous. They can make a lot of money, and then she makes thousands and thousands of dollars. She becomes super wealthy doing the CIA bidding, spreading North Korea propaganda. You become famous. You get also you get clout. You got people praising you. You got the kind of money where you can buy fake boobs. You can even do that. That's how famous you become. And you guys think I'm dumb dragging this idiot because I've been very confused, and you guys seen a few times that I've been roasting Rogan. I've been extremely confused on why anyone who is a working class person will listen to this person. Why anyone who is on the left will praise this person. This guy went from calling himself a socialist. He had Dr. Cornel West on his show, and they talk about the merits of socialism. He went from that to now he's a right-wing grifter who took $100 million from Spotify. He took $100 million from capitalists, and now I'm saying he hates socialism. Isn't that funny how it works? Why would anyone listen to people outside of our class? Why would anyone listen to people who are millionaires and get news and information from millionaires? Joe Rogan used to be a socialist. He said it. Why you guys think I used to listen to him? I remember the old podcast. He used to do these long speeches about how working is like these long work days is bad. He like, why can't we just have healthcare for everyone? That's the reason I used to like him. Which is why it's so crazy to see what he became. He went from being like, man, I don't hate the man who won't make us force us to work. I became a comedian because I don't believe we should be forced to work. Fuck capitalism. They just want to take advantage of workers. We need to end the wars. He used to talk about base ass shit. And now I see one of the comments. He essentially Bill Maher. All he does is complain about the cultural war while complaining about socialism. Listen to this insane clip. And JB, this is gonna be very hard to get through. Listen.
Human beings need incentives in order to perform, and that's just human nature, whether we like it or not. If you want a system that allows for a continual progress of innovation, like constant innovation, you got to give people incentives to do that. They have to incentive. This the human animal strives to achieve for whatever reason.
Totally agree. I mean, it's not like socialism hasn't been tried.
Yeah.
In the last 100 years, 42 countries have tried socialism.
Okay, so I made it, how long? 30 seconds? So first off, if capitalism is so natural, why does it require a police state to maintain it? Why do you guys need a giant police state to maintain your capitalist structure if it's so natural? If it's so natural, why is Marxism the most popular economic ideology that we've seen in the last 200 years? An economic system that many states incorporated when they took a few industries off the table. You had the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not fact checking myself, but I think the NHS started in the 50s or 60s. It started. I got to look exactly when it started. I forgot the exact date. But a lot of these health programs you see around the country inspired by the idea that some industries shouldn't be controlled by government, Marxism. And when you look at how indigenous people lived, when you look at how African people lived, when you look at how indigenous people lived, when you look at cultures before, a central planning model that's actually structured, that provide for people, have been a thing since the beginning of time. You guys know that they used to provide housing in ancient societies. Like it's very like this whole thing about having massive homeless people is very new. Like these things, like there are a lot of social services that governments used to provide. Then the capitalists came, overthrew all the countries that and created color revolutions in countries that prefer socialism, and they established police states in order to maintain capitalism, but they think it's natural. They think it's natural. And this, I'm gonna get to the last thing you say. JB, anything you want to add? Because I want to be. I don't want to rant to anything else you want to add, and I want to tackle the last thing you said because the last thing you always said is ridiculous
for whatever reason.
Totally agree. I mean, it's not like socialism hasn't been tried.
That part I almost forgot what you said, but the whole socialism thing has been tried. Do you want to take that on? Because I think you chime in to get in.
It has
the one thing I would say before I pass to you, if socialism doesn't work, why do you guys need to sanction every single country that chooses socialism?
Exactly.
Go ahead, JB.
I liken it to being in a race, right? Let's say me and Nick are in a race and I claim up and down I am the baddest at racing. I will smoke Nick in racing, right? And then we take our marks, get set, ready. Somebody pops the pistol, pop, go. We start running, right? And so I bragged about how good I am at racing Nick. Then I take a tire, throw it in front of Nick. Then I take a cinder block, throw it in front of Nick. Then I try to flash him in the eyes with the flashlight. I'm doing all this sabotage. If I'm so much better than Nick, then why do I need to sabotage him in order to win?
Exactly.
If I'm so much better of a runner than him, why can't I just do it on my own merits? If he's horrible at running, then let him fall, let him trip on his own damn feet. But why is it that I have to sabotage him each and every time? That's the same thing you have to think about towards socialism, right? And then on top of it, think about all the coups. For instance, people will talk about, oh, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. You know what else was a democracy in the Middle East? Iran. What happened? Oh, what did the United States do to Mohammed Mossadegh? Interesting, right? So therefore, number one, socialism and communism is actually very, extremely pro-democracy, so much so that they actually want you to be democratic in your own workplace too. And then on top of it, someone like Joe Rogan was like, well, people need an incentive. Do people need an incentive when they're doing certain work? Like, not everybody needs a monetary incentive in order to do things. That's not all human nature. You get somebody that may build a nice dresser, right, out of wood. Is it because they're making money off of it, or are they doing it because they actually want to do it because they actually like doing carpentry? It's not always that. And when people say, oh, well, you need a monetary incentive, no, we didn't. We didn't need it for thousands of years. This is all brand new. We don't need a complete monetary incentive in order to produce. Hell, why do some people make music on the weekends? Why do people play video games? Right?
Yep.
Which Joe Rogan, by the way, also demonized too. So it doesn't make any sense. And then on top of it, this guy talks about, it doesn't make sense, for socialism, like that there's no incentive. All right, well, why do people get into the professions that they do if it's only for the money?
Cuba revolutionized the healthcare field. You got to know that Cuba sends doctors to other countries to assist them and to train them. So if communism and socialism reduces the drive for innovation, why does Cuba have a lung cancer vaccine, but we don't? It's literally a talking point that doesn't even remotely make sense. Why is China out innovating us if the profit motive is so incentive? And I can hear people right now, well, China not socialist. Okay, let's seize the banks then. Let's get rid of the landlords if China isn't socialist for you. Let's get rid of landlord and cap rent at $400, $500. Let's seize the banks if China isn't socialist for you. They'll say that. People will say, 1 second, so China isn't socialist, but then you advocate for do shit that China does. They're like, no, you can't do that. That's socialism. Which is it? I think China still got some way to go. Are they on the road to Marxism? If you listen to Xi Jinping speak, he actually talks about this. They are on the road to Marxism. It's a science. But for all the people who are like, oh man, China's capitalist, they all right, let's do some of that capitalism then. Let's seize the banks. Let's ban landlords, provide free healthcare. I'm down for that version of capitalism, if you want to call it that. Socialism is just seizing the means of production. China seized the means of crucial industry. Anyway, let's continue. I'm gonna let it play all the way through because there's a lot more to debunk on this, and I'm gonna let it play. It's gonna be very hard. Feel free to interrupt if you want to. It's gonna be very hard because I'm running a little bit late. I'm going a little bit long, so I'm gonna let it play, and I'm gonna debunk their bullshit afterwards. It's gonna be a lot. So let me start from the beginning and play all the way through. It's gonna be very painful.
Human beings need incentives in order to perform, and that's just human nature, whether we like it or not. If you want a system that allows for a continual progress of innovation, like constant innovation, you got to give people incentives to do that. They have the incentive. Just the human animal strives to achieve for whatever reason.
Totally agree. I mean, it's not like socialism hasn't been tried.
Yeah.
In the last 100 years, 42 countries have tried socialism, and there have been 42 failures.
Isn't it amazing that it's still popular?
Because people just believe, well, because the new generation doesn't know their history.
Yeah.
And they just believe it hasn't been done right yet.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard to get
this time. Give me the power, and I'll make sure it gets done right.
Yeah.
but it can't be done right. It's intrinsically flawed. And they fall back on the Scandinavian argument. What about Sweden and Denmark and Norway? But those, if you look at the Economic Freedom Index, those are some of the most capitalistic countries in the world. They're in the Economic Freedom Index.
That's actually true. That's actually one of the few things they say. Sweden and Finland, they are heavy welfare states. The question I have for you guys, as someone I'm a communist who's willing to admit that social democracy, while flawed, is better than neoliberal capitalism. If you're acknowledging that Sweden is capitalist, why not adopt the social safety net that they have? They will. So you guys see the contradictions that capitalists have. I'm sorry to interrupt today. I did not realize I said I wasn't going to do it. I did that literally instinctively. I didn't mean to do that. But they will say, come on, man, you said Sweden and Finland is socialist. They're not socialist. Okay, why are you against free healthcare then? When we say we want free healthcare in the United States, you guys say we've been socialist. But then you guys say, oh, Sweden, they're not socialist. Make your goddamn mind. Is free healthcare socialist or is it not? Is seizing the bank socialist or is it not? Can we at least be consistent? Can we at least be fucking honest? Anyway, let me continue. I apologize. I didn't mean to stop it. That's my bad. I'm gonna let it finish. It's very hard to let this clip finish. JB, anything you want to say before I let it continue again? Going once, going twice. All right,
it's like they keep moving the goalposts. It's wild.
Yeah. I'm gonna let it continue. I actually broke my promise. I'm sorry about that. I like extensively paused it right there because that talking point is so dumb, bro. I can dismantle these capitalists like nothing. You guys see what I did to Destiny. You guys saw what I did to Robbie. There's a reason why you're never gonna see me on Joe Rogan. There's a reason why this anti-communist would never invite me on. I would destroy their childlike arguments so easily. But let's continue.
Those are some of the most capitalistic countries in the world. They're in the Economic Freedom Index. For example, Denmark's listed one place below the United States. It's like number 12. Sweden's like number 20. United States is like number 13 or 14. So Iceland is the freest of those Scandinavian countries. So Sweden's held up as an example, but what people don't realize is the corporate income taxes in Sweden are only 21%. They have no inheritance taxes at all. They have universal vouchers for education, so free competition in education, not a monopoly. They are probably in a lot of ways more capitalistic than Americans are.
So what is it that they point to when they point to these Scandinavian countries? What are they using as an example of them being a shining light of socialism?
In some sense, they're still stuck in the 60s when Sweden did an experiment with socialism before it moved away from it. They're still living in the 60s, and yet they tried it and their economy tanked.
Okay, so I didn't make it all the way through because I paused it, but let me go through this. Actually, before I go, JB, do you want to go first? Because I know you've probably been waiting. I got a lot to say on this. I'll say one thing before I pass it to you, which is one thing. We have Skid Row. We live in one of the most unhappiest countries in the world. We have millions homeless. We have around 65,000 Americans that die each year because they don't have health care. Quick question. Who is sanctioning us? What's our excuse? Cuba economic model is so good that despite losing billions, I gotta look at the right number. I think it's like hundreds of billions was estimated to be stolen from the Cuban economy. The Cuban embargo cost them hundreds of billions of dollars. But despite the fact that they are embargoed, they are sanctioned, their people have a higher life expectancy rate than the United States. Let me repeat that again. Despite the Cuban embargo, they have a higher life expectancy rate and they got a higher literacy rate. How can anyone say that's a failure? The country that is the richest country of all time, with no one sanctioning them, has millions homeless, has Skid Row, and so many Americans have broken brains, they are forced to take antidepressants. So many Americans are depressed that they've been convinced that they got to take pills in order to function. And you guys think that this system was successful? You motherfuckers can't survive without popping pills, but you think this system is successful. Who is sanctioning us? What's the excuse for us having lower life expectancy than Cuba? What's the excuse for our infrastructure being shit compared to Russia? Jon Stewart saying our shit subways is the cost of freedom. What's the excuse for that? We have a failed central planning model. And now I'm gonna share this, and I'm gonna get you in here, JB. But it'll be one thing if you do what I do. If you do what I do. What do, my friends? I come out here and tell you all the stupid shit I said, and I would say I was wrong. I was wrong supporting Bernie Sanders. I was wrong when I was more of a social democrat. I used to believe in the bullshit about North Korea. I was wrong about that. So what someone who is honest do, they will admit that they was wrong about something, and then they will explain to their audience why they changed their mind. The reason why Rogan sold out is because this motherfucker used to praise socialism all the time. Does Joe Rogan say, I used to be a socialist, but ever since I did more research, I realized that socialism is bad? No, he does not say that. He says, how can any young people fall for socialism? Look at the question he just asked. That's someone who is bullshitting you. If he was honest, he will admit that he changed his mind and explain why. So for all the people that say, well, I think Joe Rogan is so legit, man. Rogan tell you what's on his mind. No, he's a bullshit political. He's calculating, and he says stuff to maximize his audience. So before he tried to grip the right wing, he was a socialist. Then once he started inviting Ben Shapiro on and all those people, and all of a sudden he's like, I can't imagine how anyone would fall for socialism. So here is Joe Rogan with Dr. Cornel West, when he used to, before he became this unhinged capitalist motherfucker who took a deal from Spotify. Listen to how he used to talk. Listen to the conversations he used to have on the show back when it was listenable.
Here, decade after decade, that's greed.
Right.
That's greed. There's no accountability, you see.
That's where that whole idea of let the market decide falls apart.
Exactly.
Because the market just wants profit, right?
Absolutely. And that doesn't mean that markets cannot
so
be.
Joe Rogan then knows the theory behind the profit motive, but he doesn't now.
Regulated and clean and so forth.
There's a narrative that you get from poor people often, or people that are lower middle class, that are against the concept of socialism because they equate it with people that want a free ride.
That's right.
They equate it with people that don't want to work hard.
That's right.
And it's a strange narrative when you consider all the things that we talked about already, like what we need with the fire department and the police department and all the different ways that socialism does form utilities, and all the different ways that socialism does form a part of our culture and our community. Why do you think that is this narrative, and how does that narrative get reshaped? Because
what happened? So it'd be one thing if you changed. I tell you guys, I change all the time, and I'll explain to you guys why. He's not doing that. He's misleading his audience. He said, how can anyone believe in socialism? You used to. It's the same thing that Kyle Kulinski does. Kyle Kulinski, he's saying, I always used to say this. Always used to say this. He said that he would never, ever support anyone who didn't support Medicare for all because his dad died without health care. He went from that to saying, oh, yeah, I got to support Joe Biden. And then when he explains it, he's like, I always felt this way. You guys see what these liars say? They're never honest. I tell you guys when I took my L's all the time and how it changed my mind. That's how you see when someone's bad faith. Joe Rogan is not anti-socialist in a bad faith, in a good faith way. He's bad faith. He took $100 million from a capitalist institution, and now he changed his position on socialism. Now he's pushing the culture war, and he's trying to get workers to hate socialism. Why is no one else calling this out? Why are people, including our people I'm friends with, still pretending that Joe Rogan is anything other than establishment scum? Sorry, JB, I know you had to listen for me for quite a bit. Anything you want to add before I continue? Because I have more of these receipts. Rogan used to be super based, super pro-worker. Now he's a rabid anti-communist. Go ahead.
No, the thing is like they pay him to take these positions. That's the problem. And a lot of times they know the influence that somebody like him has. And it is more money to be anti-communist. There's more money in pushing the corporatism and right-wing culture war than it is in actually going against it and saying no we want something that is more for the workers. Like, for instance, if I were to ask Joe Rogan, how would you feel if workers got to co-own the company and also democratically choose how the company operates? Then somebody like him would be like, well, I think that's a good idea. Bro, that's socialism, right? Workers owning the means of production and being able to democratically determine how that means of production is owned and operated. That's what it is. And yet, he keeps going, well, no, this isn't how it is, and this isn't a great system, when in reality, that's ultimately what it is. And so he keeps going this narrative because it's lucrative for him. It is lucrative for him to be able to put this anti-communist type of bile out here because ultimately it is good for his bottom line. It's the same way with a lot of these people who call themselves to be on the left, but they're on what I like to call the legacy left, and yet they keep you within a system that perpetuates this, we just have to stay within this margin instead of going to what we actually would liberate us. It's like, for instance, the people who talk about, we want a Scandinavian style system. These same Scandinavian style systems, yeah, they're great for the people who live there, but they're also extracting wealth from the global south, thus causing people to suffer in places like Congo, in places like Sudan, in places like Niger, in places like in Mali. And so when you actually talk about what's going on in these countries and how they need to be liberated, if you were to liberate these countries, these social democratic countries would fall apart. And so the only way forward is actually socialism. And they may not like to hear it, but guess what? The workers need to be able to own the means of production. The workers need to be able to determine democratically not only how their workplace operates, but actually how their country operates.
Yeah, so there's some little bit more I want to show you guys. I'm mostly just, for a sake of time, I'm picking just Rogan piece out. We already know what Cornel West is gonna say, so let's see if I can find
in the police department and all the different ways that socialism does form utilities and all the different ways that socialism does form a part of our culture and our community. Why do you think that is this narrative, and how does that narrative get reshaped? Because that narrative of that the only reason why people want socialism is because they want a free ride.
Right.
Cornel West actually does a good job, like he usually does, debunking that nonsense. So you guys know Cornel West. For sake of time, I'm skipping it over, not because of any personal reasons. So Cornel West knocks out of the park, showing that Joe Rogan actually has received good information about socialism and why capitalism is bad. I don't believe you go backwards from there. I have said this many times. You don't wake up as a sweet summer child and then go back. You don't become a socialist. You don't have people like Dr. Cornel West on. You don't hear the anti-capitalist narrative like his entire show was before and then go back. You go back when you get paid $100 million and you choose to sell out the working class. That's how you go back. And you guys notice that Joe Rogan became the most popular podcast in the world doing what? Promoting left socialist ideas. Then he took the money. Then he decided to take the audience that like people like me, left-wing martial artists who used to watch his show. There were a lot of lefties who watched his show. And then he wanted to take it to the next level. Then he started inviting Ben Shapiro on. Then he started taking bribes from capitalists. And all of a sudden, he completely does a 180. Now, if you guys think I'm bullshitting, this is the kind of shit I am not. And I'm sure there are many people on the left, like me and Eddie Liger. Eddie Liger been begging to go on Rogan's show to debunk his bullshit. You guys know Eddie. He's a wrestler. He's a martial artist because wrestling is a martial art. He's a martial artist who used to watch Rogan. He's a communist. And I've seen many of his tweets. Bitch out to Eddie if you're watching. He's just like me, like, bro, what the fuck happened to you? Eddie been begging to go on the show. You know, from Midwestern Marks. Can you guys imagine how Eddie would That's the shit that Joe Rogan used to say. And I can only find so many of these clips. But guys, I remember what I used to fucking hear. Do you guys doubt me now? When I used to listen to this show, this is the kind of shit that Joe Rogan used to talk about. And do you guys really believe, for all the people who believe that Joe Rogan is an ally, including friends of mine, do you guys really believe that he changed his mind legit? That this guy went from seeing through the system and now he's back to being a sweet summer child doing unhinged podcasts with anti-communist scum saying that he don't understand why people can be socialists.
Nick,
Jamie, you see what I'm talking about? You guys thought I was exaggerating at the beginning of the stream. I told you guys I'm going to expose this fraud as the fraud he is. I never want to hear anyone praise this class warrior scum ever again. You don't go backwards. He sold out. You understand? And people are allowing this guy to get away with it because they're afraid of his audience. Joe Rogan is way more popular than me, way more popular than anyone who covered him. So people are afraid of his audience, so they're not calling out his bullshit.
Nick, did I just hear him correctly?
Oh yeah, you want to hear it again? You hear that? You hear that, JB? You hear that, my brother?
Mm-hmm. My, how the mighty have fallen.
And guys, I don't have the receipts right now. Guys, I need you to believe me. You guys know I'm a big receipt person. I usually like to show instead you believe me. But you have to believe me on this, because I don't have all the clips of Joe Rogan 0 through 200. But I promise you guys, this is why I used to watch the show. He used to talk about this all the time. And now he's doing this whole thing where he's condemning communism and socialism.
The crazy part is he understands this.
Like, this is another clip. We don't have to play this, but I'm sure that this person who's saying that Joe Rogan doesn't understand socialism, I'm sure it's just another example
the whole system
of Joe Rogan bashing socialism. Let's listen just for a little bit. I don't want to
with emaciated teens hunting cats. You burn the whole system down, we end up like Venezuela or the former Soviet Union with emaciated teens hunting cats in the streets to eat.
Oh
right?
my
That's
God.
literally what happens in some of these places.
All over the world, yeah.
That can only be enforced through violence.
I don't have to watch that too much, this clip, but you guys see Joe Rogan is doing this anti-socialism shit all the time now. And I've been planning on doing this segment for a while until I saw the most recent one. People are letting Joe Rogan get away with insane class trader capitalist bullshit. It is crazy that people are letting it happen. This man went from endorsing Bernie Sanders and saying he is socialist to this shit now. I think I got through all my receipts. This show was way longer than I planned. I think I'm done. Let me look at my notes. What did I miss? Yeah, I was gonna do a segment about U.S. military drills. I say that for Tuesday. So I'll just cut one segment. I think we're pretty much done. This went way longer than I planned on. But now that you guys see, like, from now on, whenever you hear people say that Joe Rogan is like an anti-establishment friend, look at those motherfuckers sideways and ask them why they say that. Because this motherfucker has been saying unhinged sellout shit for quite some time. So that's my Jones takeaway. He went from a stoner, like, I'm a big stoner. And you gotta know I love conspiracies. I'm a big conspiracy theorist. He went from a stoner martial artist who would talk about aliens once in a while to a guy who bring on propagandists to lie about socialist countries, to mirror the young people who engage in socialism. There's a clip I'm looking for I can't find. There's a clip where Rogan was getting roasted, where he was telling people to get back to work. And for some reason, I can't find it. So I couldn't include this in my segment. Only thing I could find was this, because I remember the Joe Rogan Reddit at the time. I don't know. I'm not on Reddit anymore. But I remember at the time the Joe Rogan Reddit really turned on Rogan, because all the people like me who watch Joe Rogan because we were leftists, like pot smoking people who hate the government, we all witnessed this motherfucker change. So for a period of time, even the Joe Rogan Reddit was like, bro, what the fuck is going on with Rogan? He said they was all mocking him, saying, get back to work and work harder.
Yep. So
Rogan fans have acknowledged this changed them in a long time. And I have no idea in general why anyone would get news from people outside their class. Why are working people watching Rogan? Why do you find value in what these people say? And I truly believe one of the reasons why a lot of people focus on the trans issue is because of Rogan. They don't really give a fuck. They like manufacturing consent. Like, you don't care about an issue until someone tells you to care about an issue. The only reason people care about this is because Joe Rogan has the #1 podcast in the world, and he don't want you to focus on class issues. He puts culture war shit out. So now you got, and then you see other people who watch Joe Rogan who they talk about nothing but the trans issue. They talk about nothing about culture warrior shit. And that is what Joe Rogan is here to do, to distract you and to be a powerful counter-revolutionary force for the establishment.
When people start talking and LARPing on the culture war issue and talking about how, oh my God, transgenderism is so dangerous and blah, 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 that's dividing the workers. That's ultimately what it is. For you to look down upon your fellow worker just because they may have a feeling within themselves that, oh, I am not the gender that physically that I am on the outside. So therefore they decide to change that and be more of who they are. Somehow that makes them less than you, right? And then where's the line? Because then you can go, well, JB, he doesn't like women, he doesn't like females, so therefore he is less than me. See where the line goes? Because now, guess what? That's also going to give you free reign to look at me as less than you too.